Hello, my name is Dakota Lee. I'm an animal communicator, and thank you for clicking on this video because today we're going over something that's very important to me. I'm talking about 3 very common misconceptions about animal communication, which is what I do. So first of all, I'm going to go over animal communication really quick in case you're watching this thing for the first time. Animal communication is a gift I have. I have an ability to intuitively connect with an animal, and so I can hear their thoughts, they can hear my thoughts, and we can talk in this way. It's not auditory, I don't have to say anything, and really amazing results come from it. Now, while it's great, and a lot of people who hear it, either one of 2 reactions like, I don't think that's real, or that is so cool. There's not a whole lot of in between. Which I understand either way, but when people hear it for the first time, nobody has any idea of what to expect, which is why I'm doing this video, because as cool as animal communication is, I do have limitations. And that brings me to item number 1, misconception number 1, I cannot control your animal. I can't do it. So the best example I can have of this is I went to a lady's house to talk to her 2 dogs, and what she told me before is they were having behavior problems. When I got there, she told me about their behavior problems. They would bark like crazy whenever anyone even they knew got home, and just would go running around the house for like 5 to 10 minutes at least before they would settle down, which is very annoying every day, multiple people coming in and out every day. And then the second thing, there are a few other things, but the 2 main things. The second thing, they would pee on the carpet, which is really, really annoying. So as I sat there and I was working with her animals, I began to realize that she believed that I was the animal wizard, basically that I could, do something magical and immediately fix the animal, like just tell them what to do and it would stick, and they just come out of the session like a changed little creature. And however much sometimes I really wish that was true, that is just not how it works. I can have a discussion with your animal. I can, ask them, why are you peeing on the carpet? And they can go, oh, because it smells so much like pee right now. It's just an instinct that kicks in that I just need to pee there, which was what was going on with her dogs. And so the dog's advice was, well, we need a different carpet, and then make sure we don't pee, and then we'll go outside again. Okay, it's not a piece of homework anyone wants to hear, but it's what the dog said. And so, she didn't want to hear that, I don't think. And as far as the barking, dogs suggested a training plan for her that would work for them, which is great because you want to get that straight from your animal, but it was definitely not what she was expecting. And so walked away from that session, we were all kind of a little bit like, what just happened? And I think she would have really benefited from seeing this video. Now, I do have clients who make it seem like I do have control over the animals. The animal will come out of the session like 180-degree turnaround. They're just a different animal, and it's like, wow, what did you do? And that is really powerful. That does actually happen quite often, where the animal just changes after one conversation with me. But the reason for that is not because I can control them. It's because the animal got to ask questions that they had fears about that they'd never been able to ask before. For example, I very recently talked with a dog, this was just, I think, last week, whose big question was, is this my forever home? Are they keeping me? Can I depend on this? And all these behaviors, all these anxieties, like peeing on the carpet, another peer on the carpet, stalking the grandkids, barking way too much, way too loud, way too often. All these anxiety-driven behaviors came from this one fear. And when we were able to address that fear, all the other behaviors started to subside. And so it's not because if an animal changes, it's not because I can control them. It's because we do a therapy session and they got the answers that were so relieving to them. And it's such a powerful, freeing process that I love it when sessions happen that way. But it definitely doesn't happen that way all the time. All right, so misconception number 2. This is actually probably the most important one. A lot of people ask me to ask their animal, where are you feeling pain? And we get a lot of very detailed responses. Animals tell me things like, well, I was feeling this, last week, but this week since I've been on this medication, it's been a little bit better. So make sure they don't forget their medication. I've gotten that before. They can tell me, a horse told me I once have a massive headache, right? Goodness gracious. And sometimes animals tell me, they're fine, which is really nice to hear. All these things they can tell me, they can describe their symptoms really well. I can say exactly where it is on their body. However, with all of this information, I still cannot diagnose your animal. Please, please understand, I'm not a vet. I'm not even a vet tech. I just come in and hear what they're saying through their perception of it and can tell you what they're feeling, right? It's still up to the medical professional to be able to figure out exactly what needs to happen and exactly what they do. I'm just a diagnostic tool. I think that can really, really help. So if you ever have a session with me or an animal communicator and they say something, medically, please go get it checked out by your vet. Do not just rely on what we're saying, because sometimes animals, usually are pretty self-aware, I have to say, but sometimes animals can bring up the thing that's causing the most pain, and but the vet can find out the deeper issue. Sometimes animals know about the deeper issue and you need to go to the vet to get the medicine they need. So please, I cannot diagnose your animal, but I can help. All right, now we're coming up to misunderstanding number 3. And this is one I wish was different, but it's not. This is the way it is. Just because I can talk to animals doesn't mean I'm going to get along with them. So I have 2 really great examples of this. The first example, I talked to a ram named Tar Heel, and actually I was going into his pen full of a lot of other goats that I was going to talk to another goat, but he rushed up to me, and he didn't headbutt me, but he kind of made the head gesture, and he was trying to go at me, and there were 4 people with us, but he still went for me. Sometimes animals can tell, oh, she's the star of the show while she's here, people kind of focusing on her, I need to get to that one, and usually it's for good reasons, but this, he went up to me to challenge me and kind of challenge the whole group, and I reached out to him immediately. I was like, whoa, kind of thrown aback, and I was like, I asked him, are we gonna have a problem? And he says, you need to get out. And I go, buddy, what's going on? And it was interesting because when I asked him what was going on and he told me, you could actually see him relax for a second. And he goes, I'm really hot. And it was true. It was very hot out, and he hadn't been sheared yet. So he had this, very thick wool, and he just wasn't comfortable enough to deal with strangers in his pen. So, well, he warned me, and I think we tried to stay for another minute, and then he amped up his aggression, and we got out of there. So that was kind of on me. Now, and in that case, while I could have tried to say, oh, we're just here to talk to a friend, he just wasn't willing to listen to that. He just wasn't comfortable, and I needed to respect his wishes. We all did. And, well, in that case, he kind of made it happen at the end. So that was a good learning point for me. Some animals shouldn't be reasoned with in that exact moment. You got to take care of their needs first and then go after that. Now, the second example I have was a little dog named Tabor, and she was a min pin, extremely aggressive. Her owners couldn't even ever have guests over because she was so attack mode on them. And so this was a great example of I went in to help an animal and was certainly not the animal's friend. Tabor was very, very upset to see me, barking, lunging. She had to be on a leash when I was in the home. But while I never became her friend, even though I was able to get into her mind, she wasn't able to shut me out, which is what she did to her owners all the time. And I was able to challenge her and motivate her, because while she didn't like me and wasn't friends with me, she did love her people. And she couldn't shut out what I was saying, which is what, she did with her people all the time. So through that, we were able to motivate her to change. Because she wanted to please her people, but not me. So she was still very happy when I left, but what the owners reported back to me was that just after, they had me back for 2 sessions, but even after the first session, they said, we finally have peace in the home. She really changed her behavior. So even if I'm not going to be the animal's friend, I promise I'm always striving to make their life better and your life better by helping your bond, even if I'm going to be the one that gets a little bit emotionally tossed around by how they treat me, and that is totally fine, because it helps you guys. So those are my 3 misconceptions that I get the most. 1, I can't control your animal, but I can talk to them. 2, I am not a vet. I cannot diagnose your animal, but I can help. I'm like a diagnostic tool to help your animal express their symptoms. And number 3, just because I can talk to an animal doesn't mean I'm going to get along with them. But on the other side of that same coin, just because I don't get along with them doesn't mean they aren't going to have an improved life after our session. So All right, thank you so much for watching. I'm glad I had a chance to kind of get this off my chest. If you are interested in a session with me, just go ahead and reach out through either Facebook Messenger or go to my website, www.dakotaleeanimaltalk.com, and book a session, reach out, ask questions. There's more information there too if you'd like a session for your animal, because I really truly believe that what I can do can help so many, and that is my favorite thing, to get a thank you from an animal because I've helped make their life better. So if you'd like that moment or think you need it, yeah, just go ahead and reach out. I'm here for you. All right, thank you so much for watching, and well, I guess we'll talk soon.